They say betrayal doesn't happen all at once, it's a slow, creeping thing that sneaks in through the cracks you didn't even know existed. I learned that the hard way. My name's Alex, and I'd been married to Melissa for 7 years. 7 years of shared laughter, struggles, and dreams. Or so I thought. It started innocuously enough. Melissa joined a new book club. They called themselves the Uncaged Birds, which should have tipped me off, but hindsight's always sharper. Her newfound friends were all about empowerment, or at least the twisted version of it. Every Friday night, Melissa would come home buzzing with excitement, regaling me with tales of the debates on literature and life. "You wouldn't believe how liberated these women are," she'd say, her eyes sparkling. "They're so unapologetically themselves." At first, I admired her enthusiasm. I've always wanted her to feel fulfilled and happy. But then the conversations started to shift. "Alex, do you think humans are meant to be monogamous?" she asked one night, her tone casual but her eyes searching. I frowned, caught off guard. "I mean, it's a choice we make because we value our commitment, right?" She nodded but didn't say much else. Over the following weeks, her questions became more pointed. She'd mention how some of her friends were exploring open marriages, how they claimed it strengthened their bonds. The more she talked about it, the more I realized these ideas weren't just hypotheticals. Melissa was laying the groundwork. One night, she came home late. She smelled of wine and confidence, her cheeks flushed as if she'd been practicing a speech. "Alex," she began, her voice steady but her hands trembling. "I've been doing a lot of thinking. I want us to have an open marriage." The words hit me like a freight train. "What, Melissa, are you serious?" "Yes," she said, meeting my gaze. "I've felt trapped, Alex. I need freedom to explore who I am. It's not that I don't love you, but I can't ignore this anymore." I sat there in stunned silence, my mind racing. "And what if I say no?" She hesitated, her confidence faltering for the first time. "Then I don't know if this marriage can work." Melissa had never been this blunt. It was like a stranger had taken over the woman I'd married. I'd never felt so disposable in my life. "Fine," I said eventually, my voice hollow. "If this is what you need, I won't stop you." Her face lit up with relief. She didn't notice the fire she'd ignited in me, or maybe she didn't care. Over the next few weeks, she began exploring. The late nights became more frequent. She'd smile at her phone, her attention elsewhere even when we were in the same room. I kept my composure, but inside, I was crumbling. I knew something had to give. Then came the gathering. Melissa's book club was hosting a celebration of empowerment, as they called it, and she insisted I attend. It was at a swanky restaurant downtown, the kind of place where the wine menu has no prices. Melissa's friends were exactly what I expected, loud, self-assured, and insufferably smug. They made it clear that I was the odd one out, the dinosaur clinging to outdated notions of fidelity. "You must be Alex," one of them cooed, her smile dripping with condescension. "Melissa's told us so much about you." "All good things, I hope," I replied, forcing a smile. The night wore on, each comment chipping away at my patience. They laughed about their escapades, dropped hints about Melissa's freedom, and barely acknowledged my existence. But I wasn't there to argue. I was there to deliver my own message. When the waiter brought out dessert, I stood, raising my glass. "If I may," I began, my voice cutting through the chatter. "I'd like to propose a toast to Melissa and her inspiring friends. You've taught me a lot about empowerment and honesty. In fact, I've learned so much that I felt it was only fair to reciprocate." The room fell silent. Melissa shot me a warning look, but I pressed on. "You see, while Melissa was exploring, I did some exploring of my own. And I discovered something interesting." I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen, projecting a series of photos onto the restaurant's large TV. There was Melissa, wrapped around another man, a man I'd already confronted. "This is Todd," I said, pointing to the screen. "Melissa's lover. Nice guy, isn't he? Except he's not just Melissa's. Turns out, Todd's been empowering 3 of you as well." Gasps echoed around the room as I flipped through photos of Todd with 2 other women from the group. The smugness evaporated, replaced by shock and horror. Melissa's face turned white. "Alex, stop," she hissed, but I ignored her. "Todd and I had a little chat," I continued. "Did you know he's married? With kids? I paid his wife a visit yesterday. She's a lovely woman. Devastated, of course, but grateful to know the truth. The room was in chaos. Melissa's friends hurled accusations at each other, and one stormed out in tears. Todd, who had been invited to the gathering, probably as a trophy, tried to slink away, but I wasn't finished. I stepped in front of him, blocking his path. Not so fast, Todd. My voice was low, but the threat was clear. You thought you could waltz in and destroy lives without consequences. Think again, he sneered, trying to regain his composure. You don't scare me. Big mistake. I grabbed him by the collar and shoved him against the wall, the sound echoing through the restaurant. You've got some nerve, I growled. Cheating on your wife, lying to your kids, and treating my marriage like a playground. You're done. Security rushed over, but not before I whispered in his ear. I've already sent everything to your wife, your boss, and the school board you sit on. You're about to lose everything. When I finally let him go, Todd stumbled out, his face pale and his world crumbling. The room was dead silent except for Melissa, who was sobbing uncontrollably. Why, Alex, she choked out. Why would you do this? I turned to her, my voice steady. Because you threw away our marriage for a fantasy. You wanted an open relationship. Well, now everything's wide open. I walked out, leaving the shattered remnants of her empowerment behind. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Melissa begged for another chance, but I'd already moved on. Betrayal might creep in slowly, but when it's exposed, it burns everything to the ground. And sometimes, that's exactly what's needed to start anew.